going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Zave's Corner. Listen, I'm so excited to have you here with me tonight. Do me a favor, go ahead and make sure that you are liking, you are commenting, and you have shared this post, because tonight we are going to talk about the power of HBCUs. Listen, COVID has taken a lot of things from us. It has taken our ability to gather together. It has taken our ability to party together. It has even stolen our homecomings, our precious and most prized feeling and environment. But what we will not do is we will not sit and wallow in despair, because we're going to have a little mini Black HBCU homecoming right here tonight. I've got three phenomenal individuals who have matriculated and mastered their degrees from HBCUs. And so I'm so proud to be sitting down with them tonight. So please feel free to join the conversation as we talk about homecoming HBCU style. Of course, as always, as we get started with Zave's Corner, I have to give you a few announcements. I know last week we discussed just how proud and excited we were that we were able to become an official legal corporation nonprofit within the state of Georgia. That's right. The XRR Greatness Foundation is officially a domestic nonprofit operating legally in the state of Georgia. And I couldn't be more proud and excited about the great work that we're going to continue to do. We are actually getting ready and gearing up for our Thanksgiving drive, so stay tuned for that. This year, we are looking to bless 5 families with a complete Thanksgiving meal. They're not going to have to worry about anything, the turkey, the dressing, the dessert. We are going to handle all of that. So stay tuned, because we'd love for you to be able to partner with us in that regard. Listen, if you're looking for ways to support us, you can partner with us through 4 avenues. And those 4 avenues are via PayPal at greatfoundxr@gmail.com. You can Zelle us at 404-989-3883. You can Cash App us at $XRR1208. And as always, you can make checks payable to Greater Love Enterprises, P.O. Box 492-574, Atlanta, Georgia 30349. And again, we are looking forward to you joining us and partnering with us in this great work that we're doing. Listen, next week will be our season finale. I cannot believe that season 2 is already wrapping up right before our eyes. It seems like we just got started with Zave's Corner less than a week ago, but that's right. We are coming to an end with season 2, and season 2 will be ending with the topic of grace. I'll be sitting down with a former classmate of mine. Her name is Amanda Christine. She is also a fellow colleague in the podcast community. She has her own podcast. I believe it's called Redeemed. But we are going to talk about how the grace of God will keep you and cover you even in places and situations that you have no idea that you found yourself in. So I'm so very excited to sit down with her. This is something that we have been collaborating on, and I just truly believe it is going to be dynamic. All right, so make sure that you're back right here next Sunday, October 4th at 7:30 for the season finale of Zave's Corner, as we'll be talking about the power of grace. Listen, you don't want to miss it, because that is going to be a dynamic conversation, okay? Listen, y'all, I'm so excited tonight, because tonight, let me just kind of give y'all the heads up. Tonight, we are talking about HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. And there are so many great institutions in the world. You could go on and list the name. We've got right here in the state of Georgia, Georgia State University. Some of my friends and colleagues might consider UGA to be a great school. I'm a personal fan of the Alabama football team. But when it comes down to colleges and institutions that are designed and equipped to deal with the Black person and give a Black person that true African-American experience being around their colleagues and teach us some life lessons that we would not get in other places, I just had to go and get some experts who not only have attended HBCUs, have graduated from HBCUs, some very historic HBCUs that are deeply rooted in African-American culture, that come with a history and a knowledge and just a gift all by themselves. I just truly wish that I had completed my time in an HBCU, but I don't know if it was the Lord told me, nor if Zave told himself no, but needless to say, we're not going to divulge into that. But I'm so excited, because tonight I've got 3 phenomenal individuals that are going to sit down with me and give me a one-on-one perspective as to the importance of getting your education from a historically Black college and university. And so without further ado, let's go on and bring them right on out. Listen, our first panelist, she is no stranger to Zave's Corner. I think this is her 3rd appearance on Zave's Corner now. So we are going to officially dub her as a Zave's Corner. I think on CNN they call you like a political analyst. So we're going to dub her as a Zave's Corner analyst because she is no stranger here. And we're so glad for the wealth of knowledge that she continues to pour in to Zave's Corner and all of our followers. So let's go on and bring her right on out. And she is repping her HBCU. And that is none other than Miss Caitlin. What's going on, Miss Caitlin?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome back to Zave's Corner. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me again and again and again.
Again and again. Listen, I'm telling you, we're gonna have to put you on payroll because you
I enjoy that.
Listen, we got to get some money first. But listen, although it's on your shirt, won't you tell everybody how proud you are to be an alumni of your HBCU? Kind of tell us about that and tell us what your degree is in from your HBCU.
I am so very proud to be an alumni of the prestigious Howard University. But no, on a serious note, yes, I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and I did receive my BBA in International Business with a concentration in marketing.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And from my understanding, y'all have an old saying that says you're the real HU. Is that correct?
The real HU, don't get it confused.
My Lord, my Lord. May God bless all those Hamptonites that go to the real HU. Listen, Caitlin, I'm so glad to have you back, darling. Looking forward to having a great conversation as to the importance of HBCUs and what they play in African American society. All right. Listen, this brother right here, I just consider him just to be an amazement. He is doing phenomenal things in the community. My dude has been in just about every magazine, newspaper article that you have read within the last 6 weeks. I mean, if I see his picture pop up on the Wall Street Journal, I promise you I'm not going to be surprised. I'm probably going to clip it out and hang it in my office at work and be like, listen, this is my blood brother, and just kind of get that false claiming. But let's bring him out because he is truly what it means to be a Black man in America. None other than my friend, my brother, Mr. Dr. Barber. Got to put some respect on his name.
Hey.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. How are you? How are you, Caitlin? Good to see you again.
Yes, hello.
Listen, Doc, and though this is your first physical appearance on Zave's Corner, I know that you are also one of our faithful viewers who has supported Zave's Corner, and so we appreciate you for that. But listen, tell us the name of your HBCU and tell us your degree and your focus of concentration while you were at your HBCU.
For sure. So I attended the amazing and illustrious Morehouse College.
Come on,
but I'm repping all Black colleges today. It's all love. And I actually majored in psychology, got my BA in psychology.
Absolutely, Doc. And listen, Morehouse has just a lineage and a legacy of its own. When you look at Morehouse being from Atlanta, being raised in Atlanta, Morehouse really is what I believe every Black man's dream school, especially growing up in Atlanta. It's home of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther, pretty much of all of Martin Luther King's male family members. But you've got so many civil rights pioneers and just modern day men that have gone and matriculated through Morehouse and really have come to make society appreciate the gems and the value of having an educated Black man in their life. And so, Greg, I'm appreciative of you, my friend, because you just launched a business. So congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that.
Those victories. So we're so proud of you, Doc. And we will get into that conversation just of how your HBCU really brought you to where you are today. So stay tuned for that. Listen, my final panelist is somebody that I hold near and dear to my heart. She is also no stranger to Zave's Corner. People like to say that we kind of favor, and my cousin would like to say that she really favors her, but I'm not going to give her that satisfaction. But I just truly believe that she is just a wealth of knowledge. She is so awesome in what she does as far as being an educator, but more importantly, she is probably one of the best aunties that you could have on God's green earth. And I'm not buttering her up for a Waffle House date, but if it works, I definitely accept that. So I'd like to go ahead and bring out my auntie. Auntie.
Hi.
What's going on? Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for having me again.
Listen, tell everybody your HBCU and what your degree or your focus of concentration was while you were at your HBCU.
I attended Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And while I was there, I received my bachelor's in elementary education.
Awesome. And Auntie, you actually were on our show a few weeks ago when we talked about just kind of 1+1 equaling COVID and the return and the back to school process. And so we'll kind of divil into that a little bit as well, because I want to talk to you just about how you've been coping with that as well. But listen, y'all, I'm so excited to have you. So without further ado, let's kind of get started. Let's get going into the conversation. Now, we've got 3 different HBCUs represented here across the entire region or southeastern region of the United States of America. And I want to come to you first, Auntie, and then we'll come over to you, Greg, and then we'll shoot up to our Howard School. But talk to me about just the role, the importance and the role that HBCUs play right now in our community. Why are HBCUs so important, and why is it important for especially Black students to consider an HBCU? Auntie?
I think it's very important for our students to consider an HBCU simply because we are the cream of the crop. Oftentimes people think that, if you go to HBCU, you're getting a secondhand education. Not so. There have been a wealth of Black individuals who have come from an HBCU and have gone on to do great things in life. And another reason is I think it's important for us to be around, like we said earlier, like-minded people who, when you're down in the trenches, they're going to be right there to help bring you out or to help bring you up or to get you to see and understand your worth and your value in this world and how you can play an important part alongside anybody else in any field there is. And so when we talk about HBCUs, they are just an amazing example of how you can graduate from high school and have been mediocre, but go to college and become everything. And
Mm.
it is just an awesome place to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love how you mentioned the fact that HBCUs really kind of create a different environment for that high school student who may have been struggling. And we're going to get some demographics of the high schools that you all went to. Greg, talk about kind of the importance that HBCUs play right now in our communities.
For sure. I think Dr. Henley did a really good job with sort of talking about how you can sort of transform yourself from being a mediocre student to being an exceptional person by attending the HBCU. I think another key aspect that I've realized that our community do a really good job, and I'm referring to Black people, is that we have a really interesting way in how we sort of develop relationships and how we sort of create what you call fictive kin, where you might have your play cousins, all that kind of stuff. Going to HBCU, Morehouse is very focused on brotherhood. Spelman is very, focused on sisterhood, and just having that community where I can have friends who are in medical school, who are in law school, who are, getting their PhDs. And when 10 years come down the line, if I need me a doctor, if I need me an attorney, hopefully for good reasons, then, I can reach out to them for sure. So really having that opportunity of having that relationships and having those bonds that are really unbreakable is why I think HBCUs are so amazing and why I really enjoyed my experience, not only going to Morehouse, but visiting other campuses like Howard and like Grambling and all those other places like that. But again, it's the best experience you could ever have.
And that's so important too, because when we talk about really being connected, especially in a time where social injustice is a prevalent thing among us, and we dare not even talk about the Black culture and just being Black in America without mentioning the name of Breonna Taylor, who just recently suffered another miscarriage of justice in her death. And so we definitely want to continue to lift that family up in our thoughts and prayers. But Caitlin, talk to me, because you were right there in the nation's capital, right? And for if my dates add up, you were there kind of during that crossover time between President Obama and then that other guy who just happens to reside in the White House. So talk to me about the importance of HBCUs right there in the nation's capital. Talk to me about that for a moment.
HBCUs, I will advocate, it is an experience that is invaluable that I believe you cannot experience as a young Black person in America anywhere else. So like you just said, being a nation's capital, I experienced my first protest there. So I believe it was around the time Michael Brown had died, and that was my very first time we marched down to the Capitol. I mean, not to the Capitol, to the White House, outside of the fence, outside of the gates, and we were advocating for that, for like protests and everything. But for me, I will say that going to an HBCU, I feel like in a general sense, as an overall student at all of them, it instills in you a confidence that you wouldn't receive at a PWI. It's empowering to be around, as Dr. Henley said, like-minded individuals who look like you. Like Greg said, in 10 years' time, I have that attorney friend, I have that doctor. So it's a powerful experience. You definitely gain a confidence in terms of intelligence, how you present yourselves in rooms. I can't even put it in words sometimes, but that's where I can go with it. It's definitely a confidence I feel like has been instilled in me.
Awesome. And you know, when we divulge, because there, and Greg, you kind of mentioned it, like I said, when we divulge and talk about really the kinship that Black people share, you know, everybody is either your brother, your sister, your cousin, in some way or another. We related, right? Like we might not be able to go to the hospital and freak blood, but listen, if you get the scrapping, you ain't gonna be out there on your own. But let's kind of talk about that sense of community for a moment, because like you said, at Morehouse, they're really big on that brotherhood component. On your first day, kind of tell me and walk me through that process of what that was like, and then we'll kind of go from there. But kind of talk to me about that process of just understanding that to the man to your right or the sister to your left, like, this is my brother, this is my sister, we've come here on a mission. Kind of talk to me about that.
For sure. So I actually entered Morehouse through the Bonner Scholar program. And it's a program that essentially, in return for paying for school, you have to do community service. So we're broken up in like different issue bases. So hunger and homelessness, education, community development, all that kind of stuff. So I actually started Morehouse about 3 days prior to the actual official start date of like our whole freshman orientation process, which I know Dr. Henley and Caitlin could probably also talk about. I can't talk too much about Morehouse's process because it is secretive, and that's why we are the school that we are. But but no, they do a really good job in terms of not only like empowering you as a Black man, but also making sure that you realize the importance of like just being not only who you are, but just like developing those relationships with other people. So, you know, we had different sessions where we would sort of learn the history of Morehouse, where we would have engagement with the upperclassmen, people in our class, to really foster those relationships that are very important. Because as everybody can really explain, or, you know, can sort of understand, that college is not a singular process. Like, you can't really make it through college, you know, without the help of a classmate or without the help of your family or whatever it might be. So really being able to bonds, I think Morehouse did a phenomenal job in doing. And that really allowed me to sort of just, you know, fit into that whole community of brotherhood and that community, which is, I will say that in terms of brotherhood, that's something that while they have the opportunities to, you know, for it being there, you definitely have to be willing to foster that. It's not something that's going to come automatically, but you have to put in the work, you have to put in the effort to really make sure those relationships are long lasting. So, but yeah, I mean, I love it.
Absolutely. And Auntie, I want you to talk for a moment, because you're a teacher and you've been in education for quite some time. And we kind of briefly discussed kind of the transition of education. But how would you say that Claflin really prepared you to just be not just a phenomenal teacher to Black students, but children across the board? Because I think one thing we have to remember is that when you go off to a post-secondary school, you're not just going just to be around other Black people, but really this institution is preparing you ultimately to deal with everybody in life, right? And so we don't want to create this stigma that at HBCUs, all you're going to see is a bunch of Black people. You'll see a few of our light-skinned brothers and sisters, and some of our brothers and sisters that speak the Espanol and all those things. But talk to me about just how Claflin really kind of broke it down, and being a school for educators, how that really prepared you to go into the realm of education, which is an ever-changing place.
So what I loved about Claflin's teacher education program is that, yes, we learned the methods and materials that were in the book, but we had professors that gave us experiences and advice and knowledge and wisdom that was beyond what was in the book. And so when we stepped into a classroom, when I got ready to do my student teaching, it was unfortunate that my cooperating teacher was having surgery that week, but I started teaching day one,
Wow.
ready and prepared to go into her classroom and take over. The substitute teacher, it was like she was the student teacher. She dealt with discipline only, and I taught all four subjects. I had that much confidence in myself from what I was given from my professors. And so it would be just the little things from disciplines, what to look out for in certain children, how to notice certain kids that wouldn't necessarily be noticed. Those things are not taught to you in a book, but just having to sit and just soak up the wisdom that they have for us in terms of how to um, not only just deal with the students, how to deal with parents, how to deal with administrators, secretaries, um, food service workers, your custodial staff. It was just amazing that it just wasn't about the academics, but they also focused on the social part of school. And I think sometimes schools often miss that element, that school is not just academic, but there is a social aspect to school as well. And teachers have to be prepared for that. Yes, I could get them to add. Yes, I can teach them vowel patterns. Yes, we can go over the Constitution. But can this child function socially in
Mm.
or in this environment? Is
Mm.
to me, it's just as important as teaching them um, the solar system, or you know, whatever method it is that you are trying to explain. And so I was very grateful for those professors in that they trusted us with their knowledge and wisdom, that we would not just hold it, but that we would apply it. And from what I can tell from all of my friends, that our teachers have either been nominated Teacher of the Year,
Oh,
have
wow.
Teachers of the Year,
Mhm.
Assistant Principals of the Year, teacher leaders in their schools. And so it is just amazing to me that that confidence that they have given us, and that 20 something years later, we're still holding true to it.
I like how you left that number open. I'm gonna let you have that one. I'm gonna let you have that. I like how. But listen, because like I said, I attended Payne College for a very brief, brief, brief moment. And while I truly felt like Payne was a different experience than I had ever had in my life, one thing that always stood out to me was the lack of resources that were poured into the college. And so we cannot have a conversation about HBCU, talk about the wealth of knowledge that HBCUs put out, without talking of resources that HBCUs receive. Just for a moment, and Caitlin, I kind of want you to for a second, because you were in the nation's capital, and there's George Washington University and so many other schools. There's the University of Maryland, a couple of miles north, well, a few miles north of DC. But talk to me for a moment just about the resources and kind of how hard it is for HBCUs to really thrive without having Black students wanting to come to the school. Talk to me about that for a moment.
So for Howard, in terms of resources, it's definitely a little different for us because the name and everything is so high profile. So I will bring light to the fact that a lot of HBCUs are underfunded and they don't receive as many resources as Howard may have in media and everything like that. But I want to say in terms of what did you said the question? I'm sorry. Question was.
Talk to me about those resources, because like you mentioned it, that Howard has a name to itself, right? Yeah. But a lot of our HBCUs and ironically, all three of the HBCUs we have represented here all have a very strong stance in society, right? But talk to me as to why you believe it is HBCUs don't have the resources necessary to really make them as, let's say, competitive to some of their PWIs that are in that same city.
This is a good question. It's tough because of my stance on it. Because seriously though, because it's like being at Howard and being a nation's capital, we receive just as much attention and resources as Georgetown may, or like you said, George Washington. So that kind of is a difficult question for me. But I'll say in terms of why do I believe it's like that, we'll boil it down to the same thing. It's systemic. It's the systemic racism and the systemic oppression. They're not PWIs and they're not paying attention to Black talent. Even something as simple as the CEO of Wells Fargo saying there's not enough Black talent out there. That's not true. And that's what I was going, well, I'll dial it back to the confidence thing that Howard instilled in me. From the very first day, I'm going into SOB, I'm marching in a suit. That was on my summer checklist to do it that the school had. So it's like, we don't receive that funding from the government because we're not on their radar when it definitely should be, because you pour into HBCUs, you are pouring into that Black talent that is out there, and you are pouring into the students who, we make things run. It's simple as that boils down to. We are the gears behind that are grinding, and we're working. So that's what I have for that one.
And that's so important because, and Greg, I'm getting ready to come to you on this one, because being in Atlanta, a lot of people I think tend to forget that Morehouse, Spelman share that area with another HBCU known as Clark Atlanta University. And sometimes poor Clark Atlanta University does not even receive her recognition and her honor simply because she sits right there in between two really big institutions. But if you kind of do your research, you realize that all three of those schools coexist together in a sense. But what would you say to a school like Southern or a school down in Mississippi that really does not have the name but still has the talent and those resources? Like, how do you convince someone that every HBCU is still worthy of the same recognition and honor as a Morehouse?
For sure. So I think it's two parts with this. Again, similar to Caitlin, Morehouse is a private school, so a lot of our money either comes through FAFSA or it's like private donations, like, you know, in the time of, right, exactly, Oprah and Netflix and all the other companies that have been sort of donating to us. I think the reality is, because we do have that name, then they're sort of had this idea like, okay, well, I know my money's going to go. They're sort of having this whole kind of talent, you know, whatever you might want to say. But I think the big issue in terms of, and I would sort of speak, Spelman does a really good job at that, is that oftentimes when you graduate from HBCUs, our alumni don't really give back. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, is where you have to give back money to your school. While I know you might have difficulties, you might have issue with the financial aid office or whoever it might be, you know, that school is still poured into you the resources, not only just the actual physical resources, but again, like sort of Caitlin mentioned, like, you know, just sort of having, I don't want to say respectability politics, but more so focused on how to sort of operate in these corporate spaces if you aren't privy to these kinds of experiences. So having those sort of, not like tangible stuff, but like things that, you know, are important for when you want to move and how you sort of move without moving the world. I think in terms of people who, you know, might be interested in Southern or might be interested in Grambling, my mom and my dad's side of the family and my aunts and uncles, they actually went to Grambling. So I have a history of having, like, you know, people who went to historical Black colleges as well. And I think it was, I mean, obviously they went sort of in the 80s. And during that time, you know, that's just, you know, I think HBCUs were taking off just in terms of sports and just in terms of, again, it was not that far removed from, I guess you would say, integration or whatever you might want to call it. But I think another big thing in which HBCUs need to do a better job of is just like self-promotion. So sort of going out to those schools, going out into those communities. I know Morehouse, we had admission counselors that will, and again, that also revolves around resources, because Morehouse, we do have a little bit more resources where we can send admissions counselors to the Virgin Islands or to Puerto Rico or to Washington to be able to recruit those kinds of students. But I think, again, also in these platforms in terms of COVID, everything's virtual now. So how about let's do some more virtual sections, or let's tap into this kind of technology where we can expand our name and expand what we do, what our programs do, how is that pouring into, you know, those corporations or to those PhD programs, to the law schools or medical schools. So really being very self-promotional in a sense, which I think, you know, again, you know, Howard and Morehouse and Spelman, they have the name to do so. But again, I think we also do a really good job of sort of promoting ourselves. And I think another big thing is that HBCUs need to be able to do the same thing as well.
You know, you mentioned such a good point, having those resources. You all as alumni now, are you proactive in encouraging and speaking to students, high school students, about just attending, maybe not necessarily your HBCU, but kind of encouraging them to consider HBCUs in general? Is that something that you have conversations about, be it amongst your family members, just younger people that you know? Is that something that you're proactive about?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
sons that are in college, and they also attend HBCUs. One attends Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the other one attends Norfolk State here in Virginia. And so, not only do I just encourage my children, and I have a son that's a senior in high school, and so we're looking at him and hoping that he will also attend an HBCU. But not only do I just talk to my family members, but even with my foundation, we provide scholarship money for students attend HBCUs with the hope that, if it's the money that you're lacking, maybe that will provide some closure in that gap to where you can go and find yourself in a familiar place to help you get to where you want to be in life. Because I just believe that there are people there at HBCUs that just care for you in a certain way that you just don't get anywhere. I remember being in 8 o'clock psych class. The professor went down the road. She said, "I'll be right back." She came back, and every student that was absent followed her in that classroom. She left, went to her office, called them, and said, "Your parents are not wasting their money on you.
Wow.
You have 5 minutes to get to class." And you can tell because they were still in their pajamas. She did not care what they had on. She cared about them receiving that education. That's the experience that you get when you attend an HBCU. And so I speak to that often when I'm talking to students about what an HBU experience is like. It is very unique. It is very rare, but it's also very precious.
Auntie, you
And I
said,
think,
you go ahead, Greg. You wanted to add something?
yeah, I just wanted to add something. I think Dr. Henley raised a really too, because I'm thinking about my experience back at Morehouse, and I actually had my professor's personal cell phone numbers in terms if I needed help with something. It's just that atmosphere of where like they truly care about you. They want to see you be the best that you can. I was fortunate enough to be able to, as a psychology major, a big thing that we do is work in the labs of our professors. So they sort of like mentor us and train us in terms of, how to use those psychological assessments or how to sort of build your quantitative or qualitative processes. So having somebody who not only are spending inside time, teaching me, but also spending extra time to make sure that I can be the best person I can be, I think that's a phenomenal thing. And I mean, just being realistically, if you look at pay grade in terms of your PWI professor's pay rate compared to HBCU professor pay rate, it's not equal. So not only are HBCU professors, they're doing this on a lot lower salary, but they're doing it because they care. And not only that, but a lot of them went to those HBCUs. A lot of them, realized the importance of giving back to those people who sort of, the newer generation coming up. So, I mean, again, I think that's where it comes into that family aspect of HBCUs is where we really want to see you do the best. We really are invested in you. Professors are invested in you, custodians, everybody. It's a big family environment. It's such a beautiful thing to have, especially, in this day and age where there is so many instances of injustice against Black people. Having that self-love and having that, that family again is always important. I think, HBCUs do a really good job at doing.
And let's talk about for a moment kind of the unique perspective of HBCUs, right? Because all three of you all represent very different HBCUs, and the culture is very different. The climate is very different. What really makes your HBCU, in your opinion? And I feel like this is about to get a little contested, so we're gonna pray that there's a spirit of peace and tranquility when we leave. What makes your HBCU the premier HBCU, right? Because when we talk about, and let me be honest, one thing I love about HBCUs, outside from just producing fabulous individuals like yourself, I love homecomings. I love the atmosphere. I love being able to go from tent to tent, and the sisters are beautiful. The brothers out there doing their thing. Auntie, you're a Delta, so the Deltas are out strolling, and the Alphas are out doing what they do. But what makes your HBCU the premier HBCU? Like what about the culture gravitated you to that HBCU, and you were like, yep, this is the best school that God could have ever created? Like what was it about it? And I'm gonna let y'all figure out who's gonna go first on that question, because I know whoever is last gonna want to have the last word. So I'm gonna let y'all figure out who going first.
Ladies first.
So here's the thing about Claflin. I did not find Claflin, but found me. I was at the mall trying to buy a pair of jeans, and their booth happened to be right across. And I went up and said, "What school is this? And where are you located?" And she told me, she said it's about 4 hours away. I said, "I'm going to go to that school." And when I told my mom, she was like, "There's no way." I said, "I promise you, I'm going to this school." Not only did I go to that school, it was the only college I applied to, and I received a presidential scholarship. They believed in me that much. That's what makes Claflin special. They believe in you before you even believe in yourself. It's like I tell my sons, your success is your school success. And so they're looking to draw people who are worthy, who don't feel worthy of being there sometimes in a sense, but know that they are worthy of being there. And so Claflin is just this place where you can go and just realize your potential. They do a phenomenal job of bringing in students that thrive under their care and under their watch. And it's just amazing to see. And I absolutely love some people say little old Claflin, but they definitely have been good to me.
Now that's a hard one to follow, because anytime somebody passing out some money, I mean, I'm sold. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm sold. You gonna pay for me to come see you? Oh, I'll be there. I'm gonna show up. So, Greg, you deferred to the ladies. So I just shared about Claflin. So Miss Caitlin, talk to us about the fake HU, or is that
the real Howard Hand. No, but similar to Dr. Henley, Howard was the only school I applied to, and I made sure to do early action, because I said to myself, if I don't get into Howard, I'll just go to University of Pittsburgh, and I know I'll get in there. So my mom's best friend, Miss Tammy, she actually went to Howard. She's Howard alum, and she was talking to me about Howard. I'm like, okay, and I went to a private school, so of course I was the only Black girl senior in my class. So I was tired of it. I was like, I want to go somewhere where people look like me. I want to go. I'm going to look into Howard. So I only applied to Howard. I went for accepted students day. And as I was walking on the yard, I believe they were having a probate for one of the sororities. And there was all these balloons, all this music. They're doing their intros and everything. And it was just I had never seen anything like that. And I'm walking on campus, I'm looking around, I was like, wow. And it's just, there's Black excellence everywhere. And you're just like, I hadn't seen that in 4 years. So I'm like, wow, this is out there. And once I got accepted and I got in and I went at Howard, everybody thinks they're the best of the best, and they instill in that you are the best of the best. So it's just like, you're going up against best and you're going to come out, it's iron sharp as iron. So you're in there. Like, I just, going to HBCU, going to Howard, especially, we're good for homecoming.
Yeah, we done heard about the Howard homecomings. We done heard the stories.
But again, in addition to the play, there's definitely work. But one thing that Howard is great on, I feel like HBCUs in general, like you said, going out, if you have the resources, and that's where I feel like the funding and everything comes in, sourcing out those people to come on campus and speak to you. I was blessed enough to be inside of the School of Business. So we worked with corporations. They prepared us the first day they want to have a resume. So they definitely set you up for success. Like Dr. Henley said, they want you to be successful, and that's success for you personally and for the university that you're attending.
Awesome. The brother who has deferred to the ladies, talk to us about what sets the house apart from everyone else, because we're not even going to divulge into the homecomings. I done been to your homecoming. All right.
I know, they're phenomenal. From what I remember. No, but
Like a true Morehouse man. Like a true Morehouse man.
Hey, exactly. Honestly, I think mine is different from Caitlin's and Dr. Henley. I'm from Atlanta. I grew up on the South Side. I grew up in College Park. And I didn't want to go to HBCU. I actually wanted to go to Syracuse University. And I think what the issue was is that I just had this misconception of what diversity is. And you think that diversity is like white people or all these different people, but there's so much diversity in the Black community in terms of just the diaspora or just a lot of different things. So actually, sadly, my mom died my senior year in high school. And again, she went to Grambling, and that really sort of changed my mind and how, I wanted to sort of navigate in terms of like sort of keeping her memory alive. So I actually applied to Morehouse, Howard, Fisk, and Xavier University in New Orleans. I got into all four of them. But again, Morehouse did give me a scholarship, and we love free money. But I think what solidified me knowing that Morehouse was actually the school for me, and so there's this thing that we had. You have like your M number or like your student number, and it becomes like the social security number because you need it for everything. So my M number, I can say it now because nobody can steal my stuff because I graduated. But my M number was M0003665, and my mom's birthday is actually March 6th, 1965. So the last four digits were actually her birthday. So that's when I was like, okay, yeah, this is very divine intent in terms of like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be at. So that's really what solidified to me. And then also me having the scholarship that I got into, it was actually a Banneker alum who was the program coordinator for it. So he saw that I went to Banneker. We had similar experiences in life. So that was just another, kind of thing that sort of got my foot into the door. And then again, Morehouse just being a school really focused on brotherhood, and me not having any brothers, I think it just really sealed the deal. So yeah, I mean that really is how I sort of, I knew Morehouse was for me, and it's been able to open up so many doors for me in so many ways. So I'm grateful and thankful for it.
I think the beauty of all three of you all and just sitting here and learning about your experiences and knowing each of you personally and just kind of having had conversations with you, there is a sincere joy about the selection of school that you chose, and a lot of times when you sit down and talk to people kind of about their school choices, you don't always hear that passion behind why they chose their school and why they're so proud of that school. And I think the biggest marketing tool that you have is word of mouth, right? And so when you have alumni that are so passionate about their schools, it really does help promote and encourage other like-minded individuals to seriously consider just how influential HBCUs are. Like I said, I went to Payne College. In my head, I was looking for like a human experience, but obviously that wasn't a realistic thing. Shout out to Bill Cosby for really boosting my ego, because I really thought I was going to find me like a Whitley, but needless to say, I digress. But we're so proud of the fact, and I'm so proud of the fact that you all not only chose HBCUs, but that you are living proof that regardless of where that HBCU is geographically located, regardless of how society tries to drain the well, if the knowledge and the desire is there, then the passion will always come forth. And so that is such a beautiful thing to share. Listen, before we get ready to get out of here, you all are no strangers to Zave Corner. So I want you to think on this right here and give me a one word, just a one word to complete this sentence. Attending an HBCU is, okay? I'm gonna say it one more time for you, all right? Attending an HBCU is. Caitlin, are you writing it down?
I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. Look like you was right. I was like, okay, you was in deep thought over there. I got nervous. All right, thought you was about to come with a dissertation. But attending an HBCU is, all right. So just think on that for a moment, and as you're thinking about that, I want you to give me one solid word that's really going to speak to what an HBCU is. Okay, attending an HBCU is. Greg, Auntie, look like y'all ready. Y'all prepared down there? Y'all.
Yeah, I got it.
I can't do it in one word though.
Okay, how many words you need? Let me see if I'll let you borrow some words.
4.
Okay, I'll let you have 4. I'll cap it at 4. Okay, so attending an HBCU is, that them some of our older HBCU alumni.
Hey.
Okay, Auntie, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, give it to us. Attending an HBCU is.
Attending an HBCU is a blessing in disguise.
Oh, okay, mic drop. A blessing in disguise. Okay, all right, okay. Caitlin, you ready for us, or we need to go to Greg?
I'm ready for you.
Okay, come on.
Attending an HBCU is invaluable. You will not get that experience anywhere else. From, like I said, it's not all play, it's not all work. You have a good mixture and you receive an experience like no other.
Wow, invaluable. Whew. Okay, all right, y'all coming with the heat tonight. All right, Greg. They done applied the pressure, Doc. Let's see what Morehouse got.
I'm not surprised. That's how Black women do. They always got the good pressure, and they always want us to be the best. So hey, I love it. But I would say attending the HBCU is profound, and I say profound because in a time where there's so many issues going on in the world, I feel like I've learned more. I think my parents did a really good job of introducing me to Blackness and what it means to be a Black person in America. But going to Morehouse, and I know Dr. Henley and Caitlin can say the same thing, going to our HBCU sort of solidified that understanding. I took classes in African-American psychology, African-American literature, African-American sociology, and all these kinds of Black thought. And being able to really have that understanding of what Blackness means in these different settings and through these different lenses, it just sort of like, it's sort of like miseducation and having the re-education, you know what I'm saying? And really what it means to be Black and what it really means to be a Black person in America, the experiences, the pride, the struggles, the love, all that kind of stuff. So attending HBCU is profound. And if you're thinking about going to HBCU, go to an HBCU.
Amen.
And I let me again say thank you all so much, because I truly believe, like I said, the best way to talk and hear and figure out if kind of what you're looking for is at that particular school is to talk to someone who's been there. And so thankfully, no shade to any of our other HBCUs, but thankfully all of you all attended HBCUs that are notorious and have notoriety, not just in the African-American community, but in the world in general. And they are producers of some of the greatest gifts in human form that we could ever see in our generation. And so for that, that is truly a blessing. Listen, y'all, I'm so grateful to have each and every one of you. You are always welcome here on Zave's Corner. That is no light invitation. That is something I seriously mean. I'm grateful for your knowledge. I'm grateful for your expertise, and I pray, because I believe all of you all are going back for a higher degree, if I'm correct. So we are proud of this Black excellence that we continue to see just thrive and excel in a world that is consistently trying to take out God's greatest gift, which is the Black person. So thank you all so much. Do me a quick favor. Won't y'all just wave goodbye to our audience as we get ready to get out of here real quick. And I'm so grateful for all of you all that have tuned in tonight. Listen, for my Zave's final moment, I want to just share this with you because this is something that has been troubling my spirit, and I've been wrestling with it for the last few weeks, but I think it kind of came to a boiling point this week when we heard the verdict that was rendered about the murderers of Breonna Taylor. And if I'm being completely transparent with you, I have just felt this vexation within me that has truly just disturbed me. And that vexation is the fact that even when all evidence and signs point to a miscarriage of justice, it seems as if the justice system still finds a way to show Black people that it is not designed for us. And so I want to encourage every African-American, every Black person that is watching, though the world be against you, there is a greater gift within you. And if that greater gift did not exist within you, the world would not be hell-bent on trying to take you out of here one by one. To my Black men, you are kings. To my Black women, you are queens. Never forget just how beautifully and wonderfully and fearfully made you are in the image of God. Continue to lift up the family of Breonna Taylor as they now have to relive her death all over again, because every time a verdict is passed, it is not just this momentary thought process where you can just get past it. It is literally having to relive that phone call, relive that funeral planning process, and relive grieving her death every single time we hear or see the miscarriage of justice. And so we lift up the family of Breonna Taylor and to all victims who have died at the hands of white supremacy and just injustices against Black people. We lift those names up. We continue to lift up the African-American community. And to all of you that have attended HBCUs or students that are getting ready to matriculate into their post-secondary options, I ask that you refer them back to this podcast and reach out to those that have attended HBCUs, as if we don't invest in our own communities, then we truly are the ones that are going to have to pay the ultimate price for what is produced. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you again next Sunday as we wrap up season 2 of Zave's Corner. Thank you all so much. Like I always tell you, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll see you again next Sunday, y'all. Have a good night.